Good morning from a little small town north of Peru called Trujillo. It's actually not a small town.
It's actually the third largest city in Peru.
830,000 people, I think. That's what I read.
The funny thing is that we just learned the fact that Northern Peru only receives about 10% of international visitors per year.
We're the only non-Spanish speaking people in Trujillo today. We are staying at a place called Due Hotel, D-U-E Hotel, which is actually pretty nice. It looks pretty new because there's a little bit of construction going on in there, but the room is fairly decent.
So this is like a sea level, so the breathing is so much easier compared to Cusco.
We are 10 meters above sea level instead of 4,000.
Today we're gonna do a day trip just slightly outside Trujillo. 3 different sites today. One is the most famous one, which is the Chan Chan, the UNESCO protected site. They have construction here all the time. And number 2, we're gonna visit a temple dedicated to the moon and the sun. And number 3, we're gonna end up the tour in the small fishing village about an hour away from Trujillo.
So we have an 8-hour day booked on Viator. We'll put the link to the tour that we are doing today in our description. And if it is really, really good, then you can just go ahead and click on it and book it yourself. For all of you who are coming to Trujillo.
Really nice meeting you. My name is Julio.
Julio, nice to meet you. So, made it for the first stop, and I think this is the
Huacas de Moche.
Museo Huacas de Moche, and then 2 temples, Temple of the Moon and Temple of the Sun. But from what I understand, Temple of the Sun actually closed. Okay. Nobody can visit it. This is supposed to be the pre-Inca culture of Moche. I think it's called Moche.
We'll figure it out once we get in there.
We're gonna learn more about it for sure. Well, we are done with the museum visit. It's very quick, and unfortunately, you can't really take photos or videos, and they're really strict about it.
Start around 100 years studied in the Temple of the Moon.
Never heard any of this culture before, but I definitely had a lot of respect after seeing what they have there. Great potteries and everything is fascinating in terms of the stories and what they did back in year 600, I think. Yeah, year 600. That's crazy. Now we are going to the Temple of the Moon. Thank you.
One of the things that you'll notice while you're here is that everything is mud brick, and the archaeologists have enclosed everything. So they've built these ceilings over everything because apparently, although it doesn't rain here a lot, when it does rain, it can get quite heavy, which will destroy this mud brick eventually. So they are doing their best to cover as much of it as possible so that it doesn't get ruined. This where you see these gray rocks behind us is the area where they sacrifice people. So a priestess would sit, I believe, down. She would cut the throat of the prisoner. Then she would collect that in a cup, give that cup to the priest, and the priest would drink it or something.
So there's a lot of ritual or sacrifice happening back in about 600 AD, I think.
Yeah, and they took one picture of it, and you can see it right here. This is the only picture that they took of it because it's the only skeleton that was intact. All the other ones were dismembered.
That's crazy.
It's kind of super interesting to see all this stuff because we're used to seeing all the Inca things, and this is the Chimu, or not?
No,
the
this
Chimu.
Is the Moche.
Moche
culture.
Who became the Chimu culture.
Eventually, Chimu get conquered by the Incas. So
Right.
this is about 200 years before the Incas start getting big.
I think a few hundred years.
Yeah, so. All the walls that we see here, all original. They just brush it off the cow.
All original mud brick.
Yeah, it's called
mud brick.
Yeah.
Right behind me is a mural that archaeologists think is either a calendar of some sort or a wall of mythology. And you can see certain things on it, like the blue dog over here. That's the hairless Peruvian dog that we often see in the streets.
Hi, how are you, buddy?
There is a queen down at the bottom who I kind of missed the interpretation of, but it's really cool. Look behind me. This walls are of different levels. See the prisoners at the bottom with their necks tied. The next level up are musicians, and several levels up you see the warriors and the snakes and everything.
We are actually inside the temple what it's built for. It's still pretty well preserved, I would say. You can see all the paints and you can see the original stairs. No, this wasn't really original.
So we're pretty high up here now, and this is actually the 4th of 5 temples. Let me explain that a little bit. So this used to be one small temple. Then they covered it up and made it bigger and wider. Then made it bigger and wider, made it bigger and wider, and finally number 5. So it was the biggest and widest temple ever. This altar here is temple number 4 because when the Spanish conquered this land, they totally destroyed the 5th level. So the 5th level is gone, and what's exposed here right now is the 4th level. And you can see some of the paintings that are still left over, sort of peeling off now, but some of them are over here and look like little Atari games.
The Moche god always kind of depicted a like angry, mad looking face god. So you can see all of this demonic face. What we're going next is going to be some wall that has some happy faces in it.
Happy gods.
Happy gods.
And of course, no matter where you go on the planet and find an ancient temple, you'll always find some dumbass who's totally willing to carve their name in it.
So obviously we've been exploring the Temple of the Moon. Right behind me here is a Temple of the Sun. And unfortunately during the Spanish era, they came in to dismantle this temple, completely raided all the gold and everything else, and they destroyed this temple. Otherwise, this actually considered to be the largest pyramid in South America. But right now it's closed because there are archaeologists still working on the Temple of the Moon, so the sun is still pretty much covered. So there's a lot of questions and a lot of answers right there still buried under the sand.
I just find it incredible that all this mud hasn't melted away with rains. I mean, I know they got it all covered up and everything, but even still, there's a lot of it that's not. Anyway, where are we going now? Another temple, no doubt. Our second stop today is here at the Rainbow Temple. It's actually part of the Chan Chan complex here in Trujillo, but it's cut off a little bit from the rest of the complex because Trujillo's downtown grew so much that it kind of crowded it out. For those who are not familiar with the Rainbow Temple, and I would imagine that's most people, if you look on the back of the 20 soles bill, that's the Rainbow Temple that you'll see there. So now we're going to go head over here and see some of the designs.
So earlier today we went to the first site that was completely the Moche culture, and then they decided to just abandon their culture altogether, and somehow they came to this area and become the Chimu culture. Chimu people worship the moon, and we have this amazing rainbow temple as the testament.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, and I can believe it's actually pretty well preserved, especially the inside of the temple. It's just still very preserved. Finally made it to the main part of Chan Chan. It's a UNESCO protected site. It used to be a mega empire city, and then now it's just kind of engulfed within the modern city of Trujillo. So it just seems like you just drive through like all these neighborhoods, and then you all of a sudden come back to ancient ruins.
The mega empire city.
Okay, the fishermen from Huanchaco, they all were here, and also the anthropologists.
Consider all of these actually made out of mud. So impressive to find that they're still really well preserved. So when UNESCO decided this is going to be the World Heritage Site, they put Chan Chan in one of the most endangered sites for UNESCO site. Once it's rained, it's just going to pour and destroy everything. This place is amazingly detailed, and all these crisscross holes said to be representing fishing net. So fishing was a big thing here in Chimu times, which ranged about 800 to 1400 after Christ. It's amazing. The color's gone, but the detail's still there.
So after a day of studying the history of Trujillo, we get dropped off in the most touristy area of town where they're surfing and selling a bunch of tourist stuff.
Used to be a sleepy fishing village. It's called Huanchaco.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be good for surfing. It's about an hour away, but how do you think of today?
Oh, I really enjoyed today. This just doesn't seem to be the place you'd want to be dropped off, but it's fine. We're going back to the center of town after anyways.
And it's amazing how less travel Trujillo and this area is.
Oh yeah.
It's just, we barely see anybody else.
It's like now that we're in this tourist area, they're so happy to see us.
Yeah, that's just crazy, but it's a great day, and it's always kind of gray like this, I guess, what I understand, Trujillo.
We had a nice sunny day though.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for us from Trujillo. We came to see what we saw, and that's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to our videos, hit that subscribe button and click the bell if you want to get notifications.
So long from Trujillo.
So nice to be in a temple and be able to breathe.
It's the last surviving Moche person, apparently. Hey, buddy.